Welcome back. Episode 4 of Season 2 of the Gifted Performance Podcast, giving you all the knowledge and practical takeaways to improve your own general physical preparedness. That's why we call it the GPP, folks. We're putting the G all up in your PP. We have another jam-packed, very, very important episode to get to today. Before we start, what I need from everyone who listens to this is a full-fledged tickle assault on the algorithm. I need you guys to juice this post, juice this video to oblivion, which means notification bell, which means like, which means leave Jake a comment, and then halfway through the episode, maybe leave him another one. At the end of the episode, go back to your previous comments and reply. Maybe there was some stuff in the episode that you didn't think would come up that you should tell your previous self. Juice it up. Send this to the moon. All right. Last week, we started with 1,000,000 bugs and the physics origin, or the formula, by which a velociraptor is created. This week, I got some memes. I was sitting scrolling last night, getting ready for the episode today. And I got some other ones that are absolute bangers for you guys here. We start with 9897, Jake, and that is the powerhouse of the county fair. Sometimes when I was growing up, it was the powerhouse of the me, which is the mitochondriog. Enjoy that one. It's a corn dog, but it's a mitochondria. That's all I got. I got nothing special for you there. I like it. It's a corn dog. Inside of it, you can see all the structures accurately depicted, except for the wooden stick of a mitochondria. Pretty good stuff, right? All right, on to our next one. 9898 here, Jake. This is a good one. If anyone buys me this t-shirt, finds and buys me this t-shirt, I'll give you a month free of training and nutrition. A nice blue shirt for those on audio only, and it is Mario on his knees praying, and he's saying, "Are you there, God? It's a me, a Mario." You can't, come on. You can't see something like that and not have any faith in the internet. The internet's a great place. Are you there, God? It's a me, a Mario. Love it. Fantastic. I hope this is brightening your day as much as it is mine. 9899 here, Jake, to cap us off. Last but not least, I hate to get overly religious on you guys with the "It's a me, Mario, are you there, God?" And then into this one, which is very Buddhist in nature. And it says, "I died and came back as a cowboy." Pictures of 3 cowboys riding into the sunset. And it says, "I call that reincarnation." Not what incarnation, reincarnation. Guys. If before I didn't earn your like and a comment, go ahead and throw your comment down there. Which one was your favorite? The first, the second, or the third meme? Are you a mitochondriog? Are you there, God? It's a me, Mario? Or are you a fan of a reincarnation? That's going to be our memes for the day. I hope you enjoyed those. I certainly did. That's my favorite way to start every episode of ours. Here. All right. Those were obviously silly, but silly in a good way. And now I'm going to give you some silly in a not so good way with this week's submission of silly shit from the internet. First up is Silly Glute Shit is the name of the file. Jake, go ahead and find that one. And it is this certification from the ISSA. This is an ISSA certification that you can pay actual money for, and you can become a certified glute specialist. Now, for the sake of this, look at the description here. Whether it's for form, function, or figure, better glutes are the new number one for clients. So to hell with being healthy. I don't care about being fit. I don't care about being strong. I don't care about being more muscular. I don't care about losing body fat. I don't care about improving my glucose or my triglycerides or any of that medical stuff that keeps me alive for longer. As long as I have a fat ass, I am good. That is what the ISSA thinks is the new number one for clients. ISSA, this is shameful. You should take this down sooner rather than you still have time to take this down. Realistically, I always wonder what the sales are on something like this. Like, chances are the people at the ISSA took material that they already had for like a personal training or a strength coaching certification, and they just recycled it, rehashed it, especially the pieces that were about like training for glutes and training progressively over time and the nutrition that goes into that. Usually they just rehash that into a new certification. So I think that's what this is here. It's not like revolutionary new content around becoming a glute specialist, because that's not real. Listen, here is the 411 on being a glute specialist. The glutes, specifically the glute maximus, crosses the hip joint, has a couple functions, but its main function is going to be to extend the hip. So pushing the foot, the leg down and back. That would be hip extension. You could say there's some internal, external rotation, AB, adduction, possibly functions in there as well. But the main function of the glute max, which is what most people care about when they're trying to grow their glutes, is that extending the hip. So do exercises that extend the hip. Deadlifts and variations of the deadlift, really any hip hinge, unilateral leg pressing, deep squatting, walking lunges, all of those movements, cycle them out accordingly, perform them at appropriate volumes in a progressive fashion, more reps, more sets, more weight over time, eat in a caloric surplus, and your glutes will grow. Your dumper will become chunky. It's as simple as that. ISSA, take this certification down, because I just got people certified in less than 5 minutes. You're welcome, everyone. Don't sign up for this stuff. There are so many certifications out there that are just absolute nonsense, this being one of them. I believe it's the ISSA or the NASM that also has like a social media influencer certification. Don't spend your money on that. Good Lord, please don't spend your money on that. If you are looking to get certified, you want to get a certification, go to the Gifted Academics page, gifted-hq.com, departments, academics, and just bookmark that page. We will post the certifications that actually matter, that actually have good content and can enhance your career in there. This one will never appear there. The next one in our silly shit category is one that was actually an Instagram ad that I got, and it's called Frog Fuel. So this was just a screen cap that I took, so you can kind of see it here. It's like a little gel pack. It kind of looks like those goos that marathon runners drink. So that's kind of the packaging. Saves a lot of space. You don't have to bring a shaker or a big thing of protein powder to the gym. That's the premise here, is that, you're going to get your protein intake in. It takes up less space. It's not chalky. It tastes better, yada, yada, yada. Seems good on surface level. And what I will say before I get into why this product completely sucks ass is that you could actually make something like this and it would be good. There's a way to make this and actually have it be decent. These Frog Fuel Actual, I believe, is the company. They just chose to make it bad. So here's kind of the caption. This is Frog Fuel number 2 in the folder, Jake. So ditch the chalky protein powders. For all my people on audio, reading the caption here. Ditch the chalky protein powders. 15 grams of liquid collagen protein in seconds with Frog Fuel. No sugar, no fat, gluten, or lactose. No banned substances and no GMOs. That's every trigger word that you could ever want in one run-on sentence that's punctuated and capitalized very poorly. Designed to support the rigorous demands of U.S. Navy SEALs. No, it wasn't. And it digests 4 times faster than whey. Made in Texas, so at least it's made in America. 1,500 bots gave it a 5-star review. The caption says 1,500 5-star reviews. Yeah. Okay. Doubtful. Very doubtful, my friends. All right, let's go into the problems with this. So the pros of this is that it does come in a container that doesn't take up much space. The pro is, I bet it tastes good. I bet it tastes pretty good, and it doesn't have any of those ingredients. So it's pure protein. There's no sugar, there's no carbs, no fat, none of the gluten, lactose, or any of that stuff. So if you are, dairy intolerant and you need an alternative form of protein, because this is lactose free, it might be decent for you. There's better protein sources though. Most of your non-dairy plant-based protein powders are going to use a combination of rice and pea protein, complementary proteins that when together, they, give you a complete protein. And it's actually higher quality than something like collagen. So when you dig into the research on collagen protein, you really find that the muscle protein synthesis response from collagen-based protein is very poor. It's significantly lower than what you would get from an animal-based protein. And while I haven't seen the comparison, I would suspect, correct me if I'm wrong here if you want to, I would suspect that a plant-based protein that's a pea and a rice blend, a rice and a bean blend, whatever blend you want there, will give you a greater muscle protein synthesis response than this as well. So collagen, low quality protein source to begin with. Number two is that it's only 15 grams of protein in there. So for most women with a higher quality protein source, you're going to need at least 20 to 25 grams, depending on the leucine content of the actual protein itself, to reach that leucine saturation point. So even for women, you're going to need 2 of these to hit a requisite amount of protein if it was even a quality protein source, and it's not. Men, you're going to need 3 of these to hit that. But again, getting back to, there's no amount of these that's going to make for a quality muscle protein synthesis, leucine-based mTOR response post-training. So there's no positive way to take this unless you mixed it into a whey protein shake. But then why would you even do that? So you'll see this stuff all the time. And be mindful of buzzwords. When they hit you with the buzzwords, let those sirens go off. Natural instinct is going to be something's going on here. Something is amiss. So when you see sugar-free, fat-free, gluten-free, lactose-free, no banned substances, no GMOs, it's designed for Navy SEALs. Everything should be going off. Dig in a little deeper. Collagen, low-quality protein, only 15 grams. I didn't look at the price of this, but my guess is that it's probably pretty expensive as well. More expensive than a simple whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolate. So be careful when you get advertised stuff like this. If it's an Instagram ad that's not coming from me or Gifted, obviously you should be very wary of what they're trying to sell, because I would never sell you garbage. I only sell you that good-ish, that high-quality-ish, like the memes that I give you as well. So Frog Fuel Actual, you should be ashamed. The product that you have here is Garbaggio, as Mario would say. Are you there, Frog Fuel? It's me, Mario. All right. One piece of housekeeping to get into before we move into some client highlights, and that is that the Gifted team is hiring. Woo! Come and join our team. We are currently looking for a lifestyle coach. So that is someone who works with clients on the lifestyle side. Lifestyle side meaning things like losing body fat, basically everything that has to do with improving your health, fitness, and your performance, the step before you compete in anything. So even casual competitors, I want to run a 5K, run a 10K, I want to do a local powerlifting meet or a local weightlifting meet, you would be eligible to coach on the lifestyle side. That's kind of what our lifestyle side is. Our competitive side is, our high level, national level, pro level, bodybuilders, powerlifters, weightlifters, CrossFitters, all of that. So that's kind of who we're looking for on the lifestyle coaching side of things. If you have experience coaching those types of people, please, Jake can put the link to apply in the description below. Please apply. We would love to read over. We'd love to chat with you more about how you can fit with the Gifted team. And then on top of that, we have quite a few projects that we are looking to spin up on the hybrid strength and performance side. So hybrid strength performance basically meaning, you want to be able to run, row, bike, swim at a high level while also being able to, exhibit high levels of strength and power. So being able to run, row, bike, swim, all of that stuff, while also being able to snatch, clean and jerk, squat, bench, deadlift, everything that goes into full human performance at a high level in a hybrid setting. If that fits you, and if you meet the criteria of you currently work in the online space with at least 10 online clients, you have at least a bachelor's degree plus certification or a master's degree in exercise science or a related field, and you've read through the application and you feel like you would be a good fit, please submit that application. We would love to talk more. And that's our housekeeping for the day. Actually, I lied. I want to pull up this post. So, Jake, this is Placebo Effect Explained. So this is a post that I made on my story that I actually got a decent amount of feedback on the other day. And the post, for everyone who is on audio only, says the following. You may have seen this that I posted if you follow me. The placebo effect is still an effect. As a coach, it can be important to resist the urge to dunk on interventions, meaning like poo-poo or discredit interventions, with little to no benefit if the client enjoys them, uses them for stress relief, or truly believes in the effect. You can separate these types of things into 3 categories. The first definitely helps. You need to have your clients doing this right now. The second category is it might not help, but it won't hurt. Keep this in if the client likes it. Number 3 is definitely doesn't help, and it might actually hurt, either physically, mentally, or financially, and this is to be cut out immediately. I think this really speaks to 2 points that I have, which is that number 1, if you're a coach and a client comes to you, or you're a client and you have something that you implement that maybe someone in the past has said, I don't think there's a lot of value in that, you should cut that out, but you feel that it helps you out. You take it out, you notice a drop off in health, fitness, performance, whatever it is, you should keep that in. If it's something where you don't notice the benefit, but there's so many people telling you that it benefits you, but you don't notice the benefit, and it's a large physical, mental, or financial burden for you, you should definitely cut that out. So I think what I need to do next here is record a video. Maybe I'll do this in next week's episode. Is I'll go category by category and I'll give you examples of each. What would fit into category 1, what would fit into category 2, and number 3. Let's put that in for next week's episode. That'll be our housekeeping. For now, the placebo effect. If you feel like something's working and you're getting better, don't cut it out. Unless it's hurting you. Then don't do it. Obviously, don't do things that hurt you. I feel like hitting myself in the head with a hammer really helps me squat a lot. And my squat's been going up recently since starting hitting myself in the head with a hammer. Let's not do that. Stuff like that. All right. That is all of our housekeeping, all of our silly stuff for the day. Let's get into some of our client highlights. We start at the top with our friend here, Anthony Quigley. So if you remember, I believe it was episode 1 where we highlighted Anthony's fat loss transformation. So Anthony Squared is the team that we are working with here. That is Coach Plaza and client Anthony Quigley. So what we can see here is that Anthony was able to have a very successful fat loss phase, and he's handling his motherfucking business coming out of it as well. Staying lean, staying on plan as he gets into his mass phase. So with a lot of our clients and a lot of our coaches, what we do is we put a hard cap on fat loss phases to around 2 to 3 weeks out from the Thanksgiving, Christmas season. Eating is very difficult around this time. There's often a lot of pressure to indulge in higher calorie treats. So what you can do is essentially slam your head against that wall and try and stay focused, try and stay on plan when everything else in your life, high stress from traveling and being with family and, surrounded by super high calorie, very tasty food, people pressuring you to take part in that. Guys, just de-stress. It's a couple weeks out of the year. Let's not act like 3 weeks is going to undo the 49 weeks of hard work that you put in beforehand. So we put that hard cap on there. You're done with fat loss unless you're contest prepping or there's something where you need to be on weight near the end of the year. If that's the case, suck it up, Buttercup. It's going to be a rough Thanksgiving dinner. And it happens. It does happen for individuals with high-level competitive goals. But for Anthony Quigley here, who may be getting on stage next year, but isn't worried about staying 100% dialed in, perfect time to initiate a mass phase. And Anthony has very obviously kept it in check, still rocking some chest striations and abs there. So fantastic job by Anthony squared, exactly what we like to see from our clients. All right, getting into some competition wrap-ups from this week. Team DeSantis had another very, very busy weekend, taking on the NPC, Western Michigan Bodybuilding Show. You can see the lineup that Jeremy brought here. Jeremy is in full gray sweatpants season. I see what you're doing, Jerry Beans. I see what you're doing. I recognize what you're going for here. And, might I add, I like it. So, here we go. Wrapping it up. Just running down the list here from Jeremy's caption for those who are on audio only. Bryant Wilson, first Class A men's physique and overall class champ. Maddie Mossholder, first in bikini Class C. Hunter Moran, first in True Novice Classic, second place in Novice Classic, and first place in Open A. So a first, a second, and a first for that young fella. Taylor Leipzig, first place in Novice. Oh, so it was Hunter and Taylor in Novice. So it looks like Taylor got the edge on Hunter in Novice. First place Novice, second place in his class. So Hunter went on to the overall, where he couldn't, didn't quite finish the job there, but still, you can see that he is the one to, for those who are on YouTube, on the right of our two classic physique competitors on the left. So Hunter went on to the overall, didn't win it, but still came away with a nice haul there. Last but not least was Miss Annie Coop, third place out of 16 in True Novice, second in Novice A, and third in Open A in bikini. Just in case I didn't say, Maddie Mossholder also in bikini. So what we see here is, I want to make a comment about Annie Coop here, competing in True Novice. A lot of people think, oh man, if you didn't place well in True Novice, the people who have never competed before, it must have been a rough showing for you. It must not have been your best. And in the bikini class, that's usually the opposite of the truth. That's the opposite of the truth. If you go to any NPC show and you stick around for what is the largest division by far, the bikini section of the show, you'll notice that the True Novice division is often the most competitive at any NPC bikini show. And that's because bikini probably has the largest number at any given time, and it's not close, of new competitors entering the sport. Bodybuilding is getting more and more popular for young women, and women tend to gravitate, especially early on in their training career, because of the muscular mass demands and how long it takes to build muscle mass to compete in some of the large divisions. Women usually go for that bikini class first. What happens is you get this massive amount of people who have never competed before, but may be extremely competitive. So girls who are just seeing the sport for the first time, maybe they come from an athletic background, they say, I'm going to do bikini, they prep, it goes very well, they look phenomenal, and what happens is they win True Novice, Novice, Open, overall. I think Jeremy had a competitor do that a couple weeks ago, where you see these bikini girls that look phenomenal, look nothing like a first-time competitor, and they just run straight down through the show. True Novice, Novice, Class, and overall. So when we look at a second or a third place in True Novice, more times than not, that's going to be someone who wins their class and contends for the overall as well. The classes themselves in bikini are broken up by height, but True Novice isn't. So you get all of the height classes condensed into one category, and it's just this absolute bikini bloodbath. So a third place in True Novice is actually a very, very good placing. So again, a really solid weekend, plenty of medals, plenty of trophies taken home by Team DeSantis. We got a picture of Jerry Beans and Mr. Bryant Wilson here. Bryant Wilson is jacked. That guy's a monster. Those arms are huge. Everyone thinks, Jeremy does have big arms. Jeremy, I don't want to knock you. Jeremy has big arms. Bryant's arms, massive, massive. Jeremy and Hunter, Jeremy and Maddie, Jeremy and Tyler. Tyler looks like a monster too, dude. Really, really solid. I'm surprised with I think the Open C class, the person who beat Tyler went on to win the overall in Classic Physique. I think. Pretty sure. And then, of course, there's no picture. Where's you and Annie? Where's you and Miss Annie Coop? I guess we don't have a solo pick with Miss Annie Coop. She was in the group, though. Here we've got Jeremy and our lovely trophy girls, who are also Team DeSantis clients. No, that does not influence their placing. Wink, wink. But seriously, it doesn't. But we've got the competitors who are winning the trophies, and the trophy girls themselves are also gifted Team DeSantis. Love that. And big shout out, as always, I feel like he gets a shout out in every episode, to Mr. Ryan Berry of Apex Media, the man behind the media for most of what Team DeSantis is doing. Guy just does really quality work. There's a lot of media providers popping up in the bodybuilding and fitness space. Most of them are imitators, but not Mr. Berry himself of Apex Media. Shoot them a follow if you are in that Michigan area, or you want to fly this fella out to have him to shoot some media for. He does really good infographics, really good gym photo shoots, posing sessions, all of that. If you want to look cool in the gym, this is the guy for the job. So Ryan, thanks again for everything that you do, not only for Jeremy, but for the gifted team as a whole. We love you. All right, moving forward, let's get into Miss Carol Burns. So Carol Burns, client of Miss Carrie Harris, completed her, was this her first? No, not her first. But did set a PR. So did the Disney half marathon, just over 3 hours, setting a personal record. Brought her daughter, Megan, who's a client of mine, along for the ride. Every health, fitness, performance need under one roof. I say that in every episode, because it's the 100% truth. That's what our coaches do. Our coaches provide themselves in being able to coach anyone with any need at any time. This is a perfect example here. So Carol just turned 60, hard worker, setting a PR on a half marathon at the ripe age of 60. Carol, we applaud you. You're an inspiration to the rest of the team. Keep going, never stop. Fitness and the pursuit of health are something that you keep with you through the entire life cycle. Here's her route that she took. The good old Disney half marathon, pretty cool, like half marathon as a whole in terms of like being in the Disney area and what you get to run by and all the cool exhibits that are there. And, you know, there's the people in the costumes, and it always has a huge turnout of people cheering you on. So if you are someone who does like running, does like endurance sport, but you've never taken that leap into a 10K or a half marathon or a full marathon, please reach out. We have multiple people, Carolyn B being our main one, our endurance expert there, who would love to help you get to your first half marathon, whatever it may be. Speaking of Carolyn, she also had a client last weekend, 2 weekends ago. Whenever it happened, it happened. Her client, who was this? Was this Andy? Carolyn, who was this? Andy. Yeah, of course it was Andy. So Andy finished up a full marathon, the Richmond Marathon. He was looking for a 4:30 finish, and spoiler alert, 4:25:50 was the finish. PR'd by over an hour. Over an hour. This is like PRing your back squat by over 100 pounds. This is no small feat right here. So what Carolyn and Andy were able to do over the past couple months, or the past year working together, was absolutely phenomenal. Everyone knows a marathon is 26.2, but if you are on the YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, if you're audio only, I'll spell it out for you. Andy's total distance was 26.37. He hit the 0.2 mark and he said, I got another 0.17 in me. My guess is that he probably just forgot to turn his watch off and walked around a little bit. But we're going to say that Andy ran some extra because he's a monster like that. All right, getting into some strength sport highlights. Last weekend was the USAPL Florida State Championships. The gifted team had 2 representatives there. We had Elaine Choi in the 60 kilo female category, PRing all-time PR in her back squat, all-time PR match in her bench and her deadlift for an all-time. You sick of me saying that? Yeah, PR in her total. Elaine finished 4th in the state in her first ever powerlifting meet. So 4th best in the state, first ever powerlifting meet. If there's a bright future, it's there. Elaine is no stranger to strength sport, and Elaine's career has taken a path that I always admire, which is a windy one. Starting in CrossFit, moving over to Olympic weightlifting, finding powerlifting, and now who knows what's next for her. But I know that she's passionate. I know that she's a hard worker. When she latches on to something like this, a physical pursuit, she always gives the best of herself. That's all that we can ask for from our clients. So, Elaine, wherever your journey takes you, whatever degree of range you want to show in your physical abilities and your appreciation for physical culture as a whole, both myself and the Gifted team has your back. Look at that sign, too. Way to go, Elaine. Nice pun. All right, and then that brings us to our second competitor at Florida State Championships. If you can hear my mouse, I'm scrolling feverishly here. Yes, there we go. Our second competitor at Florida State. So you can see he made his way onto the podium, and that was Mr. Scott Ahmed Haviland, who finished 3rd in the state in the 100 kilo category. 100 kilo, that's a big boy. Scott doesn't look 100 kilos. That's because he weighed in at 93. So Scott and I are in the process of building him up to the 100 kilo category. So growing into that category. So weighed in at an extremely light 93, probably could have cut down to 90. Had he done a cut down to 90, I think he would have been 2nd or 3rd as well. I need to relook at the numbers, but his placement wouldn't have been much different. But his DOT score, which is basically a calculation of your body weight versus what you lifted, would have been much higher. So his ranking total in the state leaderboards, not just at this meet, but overall, would have been significantly higher. But him and I said, he's coming off a 3 or 4 month layoff. Him and his wife did some travel around Europe, which is fantastic. Take some time away from training, do some stuff to enrich your own life, and then come back to training like you never left. That's what Scott did. Took 3 months to build back up into this meet, all-time meet PR. In the squat, I think he PR'd everything. No, I think he might not have. I think he might have deadlifted 2. He 15 kilo PR on a squat. I know that. I want to say 5 kilo PR on bench. And then I think he missed his last deadlift, which would have been a 2.5 kilo PR. So he was 5 kilos under his best, still posting an all-time PR total and earning him 3rd in the state in the 100 kilo class. Scott is another really good example. Scott, much like Elaine, finds other things in his life that he enjoys. He does Murph every year. He's done some CrossFit. He's done some weightlifting. And, he did some gallivanting, some backpacking across Europe just to come back to powerlifting, which has been his sport for as long as, he's been lifting, as long as he's been competing. And what happens? He sets an all-time PR. This isn't the narrative that most people put out there. The narrative that most people believe when it comes to physical activity, training, competition, all of that, is time taken away from your pursuit will 100% deteriorate at the result. The results that you have built over years will deteriorate to a significant effect to where it will take a lot of time to build that back. And it just isn't true. Taking time away from whatever your main sport is to either pursue something else like Elaine, taking time away from weightlifting to pursue powerlifting, will not only decrease the risk of overuse injuries from specializing in a specific sport, it'll give you a mental recharge away from the repetitive nature that comes with training for a single competitive pursuit for years on end, give you that mental relaxation. And it'll also allow you to get the social interaction of making friends with powerlifters at your first meet, or bodybuilders at your first competition, or CrossFitters. Remember that a lot of what we do here isn't to be the best in the world. Those who are training to be the best in the world should specialize all of their pursuits towards a single domain, and they should dedicate all of their resources to that. But for 99% of us, that's not it. That's not what we do. And specializing in one pursuit in the face of kind of approaching our genetic limit and hitting that ceiling and butting our heads against that ceiling is exhausting, mentally exhausting, and it increases the risk for burnout. And once you've reached that point of burnout, you run the risk of not only never returning to that sport that was a huge part of your life for 5, 6, 10 years, whatever it may be. You run the risk of souring your relationship with, physical activity and the pursuit of enhancing your own physical abilities through a wide array of methods. You risk just looking at training as a whole in any structured manner as being something that you're averse to, that you don't want to do, that you don't wish to pursue anymore. And I don't wish that on anyone. And I had a very similar experience. I've worked with plenty of athletes who have had a very similar experience to this. When I was competing in bodybuilding, bodybuilding was the root of what I was. But everyone knew me as a bodybuilder. My training was around bodybuilding. My nutrition, my occupation, my degree, everything was conducive to me as the bodybuilder. And when I got to the point where I just physically could not will myself to do bodybuilding training, nutrition, everything that comes with competing as a bodybuilder at a high level, I kind of had to ask myself 3 questions. And if you feel like you're coming up on a stage of burnout for whatever your physical pursuit is, I encourage you to ask yourself these 3 questions. And the 3 questions are, can I persist? Can I persist? Do I physically have the ability to continue on this path? The next question is, should I? Should I persist? Should I continue to go? What are the pros and cons of continuing to go for this? The pros might be, I've got one more goal, one more box to check. When I'm done with that, then I'll take it easy. Then I'll take a step back. It might be, this is what allows me to afford the life, either for myself or for my family. This is what financially supports us. For most of us, that's our physical competitive hobby is usually more of a money sink than it is a money gain. But still, that's a question to ask. Should I persist? And then weigh the pros and cons and the answers to the previous 2 and say, will I? Will I persist? And it's perfectly fine to say no. To say no, to look around you, to find something else that interests you and pursue that. What you'll often find is that it's new, you're bad at it, you're going to get a lot better at it very quick, and that's going to support those I'm getting better dopamine cycles of pushing you forward. When you've been doing something for years and years on end, that I'm getting better sensation, the physical, the objective and subjective feedback of improvement is harder and harder to come by. And we can try and lie and say that's not a huge motivator for us, but it is. We're human beings. We want to feel, if we're dedicating time towards something, we want to feel like we're getting better at it. We want to feel like we're making improvements. And that's tough to come by later on in a career. So be reasonable with yourself. If you're a bodybuilder and you've always looked at CrossFit and say, that looks kind of interesting, I feel like I could give that a shot, I encourage you to do so. Bodybuilding will be there for you. What's the worst case scenario? You do it for a year, you're like, that was a fucking waste of my time. I hated every second of that. No one told me there was going to be running. Go back to bodybuilding. You haven't lost any time. You haven't lost any progress. And if you have lost any progress, due to muscle memory, it'll come back extremely quickly. Same thing with weightlifting. You've always looked at powerlifting. I feel like I can be stronger than these guys. But give it a shot. Give it a shot. Go try. You're never going to know unless you try. Don't end your physical competition career the same way that we're all going to, crippled and unable to train in a progressive manner anymore. with regrets about what you didn't try. So I encourage you, every single person that listens to this, every single client of the Gifted team, every single client of mine on Team Squat Father, try it all. Try it all. Find what sets your heart on fire. Go for it at an absolute maximum to your current abilities. If it doesn't work out, we'll find something new, we'll find something else, and we'll repeat the process. And the worst thing that can happen in all of that is that you're going to make new friends, get new experiences, learn new skills, and still become healthier and fitter over time. While it's not training and nutrition related, I encourage everyone, and Jake, you can link this book in the show notes. I encourage everyone to read the book or listen to the book. We all love Audible, don't we? Range by David Epstein. It's a book entirely about people who find alternative careers, alternative success later on in life. Don't give in to that sunk cost fallacy. I've been a bodybuilder for 10 years. I have to stick with this, or I wasted all that time. It doesn't exist. It's a fallacy that only exists in your mind. Don't give in to that. Try other things. Develop a broad spectrum of skills. You're going to gain more out of it over the course of a career than you would by specializing in one thing. Like I said, we had a ton of client material to get through. Holy crap. Let's see if we can answer one Reddit question before our time is up here. Let's get into these Reddit questions. Dun, 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 dun. I'm just going to pick a random one, Jake. I've decided that is my new method. And you know what I'm going with. 4777. All right. This question, and this one is 4781, Jake. Whenever it comes from Chris, or CHRXISSS, whatever that spells. Chris asks, whenever I increase weights for a chest exercise, I then have to decrease weights for my next exercise because my muscles feel so much more fatigued. Am I increasing the weight too early or just not resting enough? In parentheses, Chris annotates that he is a beginner. So this one's pretty easy to answer. Beginners are simply less volume tolerant than their intermediate or advanced counterparts, meaning that your ability to tolerate volume, total amount of work being done, and sustain performance from one exercise to the next will not be the same as what we see in intermediate or advanced trainees. So what you're noticing here is very, very common. It's what's going to happen no matter what until you reach the intermediate advanced stage. So until you get to 1 year, 2-ish years of training, this is going to be what you notice. And even for advanced trainees, this is pretty normal that when you increase weight, reps, sets on an exercise that starts your training program for the day, whatever your routine is for the day, the next exercise, there is that unavoidable amount of fatigue or additional fatigue that you have accrued going into that next exercise. The good news here is that this is an individual who seems, just based on how they worded the question, talking about training chest as opposed to training like pressing movements. If they said, every time I increase weights for my bench press or for my overhead press, the weight that I can lift on my next exercise is down. That's an individual that I think is training for strength. This is someone that I think is more inclined to be pursuing hypertrophy. So the good news here is that regardless of how you feel on that next exercise, regardless of if you can't lift as much weight or do as much reps when you provide a greater stimulus and more fatigue on the first exercise, when you get to that second exercise, as long as you are still lifting enough weight, doing enough volume, and training close enough to muscular failure, the stimulus placed on the muscle is going to be the same. So let's say your first exercise is incline bench press, and last week or 2 weeks ago you did 115 for sets of 8, and now you bumped up to 135 for sets of 6 and 7. By the time you get to your next movement, let's say that's incline dumbbell flies, now maybe you were doing 35-pound dumbbells on flies for sets of 8. You have to drop down to 30s, but you're able to do 9 or 10. 30 for a set of 8 was at 1 repetition in reserve. or 35 for a set of 8 was at 1 repetition in reserve. 30 for a set of 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever it is, also at 1 repetition in reserve. Still hitting those high threshold motor units, still supplying sufficient tension to the muscle to, signal that entire downstream cascade for muscle protein synthesis and muscular hypertrophy. Chris, this is a non-issue. I wouldn't worry about it. Just keep training hard, trying to progress your loads and your reps over time on all of your exercises. That's it. That's all we got time for today. One Reddit question. I promise on next week's episode, I will answer more than one of those. Guys, keep sending me memes. Keep sending me silly stuff that people do on the internet. I love starting episodes with that. And of course, to the gifted clients, just keep being badasses, keep winning trophies, keep setting huge PRs, amazing transformations as we finish out 2023 and, crazy enough, head into 2024. That's going to wrap up episode 4 of season 2. I'll see you guys on episode 5. Until then, in the meantime and in between times, then you might as well always do it. Stay gifted. See ya.